Hi, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Shaquan.
And this is
Winston Gray Saga.
So, today, we're doing something a little different. We're doing something a little bit more serious.
Are we?
Yeah.
Well, what are we doing?
We're doing what is called to-dos and to-don'ts. It's focusing on relationships. What to not do and what to do. Obviously, we're not professionals. Obviously, we don't know everything there is to know.
But there's a whole hell of a lot that you learn in 4.5 years with the same person.
Come on. Yeah.
So we decided that 2 weeks out of every month, we wanted to focus on something more serious. Whether it's relationship advice.
Hashtag relationship goals. Sorry.
Stories. Expressing the stuff that we've seen and endured over the past 4.5 years of being together. We've not really had a mentor or we've never seen a interracial couple
whom is gay.
We've never seen an interracial gay couple who looks like us and talks like us. And so that was one of the reasons why, number one, we started our YouTube channel. But so that others could see people who look like them and could be going through the same problems and things that they have to go through as well.
Definitely.
So we want to start the year off with talking about relationships, do's and don'ts, and some of the things that we've learned over these years about what to do and what definitely not to do.
Yeah. More
so the don'ts are Josh's, because, I tend to always be the one doing all the good. Let's get started.
So, we're going to go ahead and start with the do's.
You have nothing to say about my last statement?
No, I have nothing to say about your last statement. I really don't care to say anything because I will cover that in my do's and don'ts.
Well, I appreciate you for following number one.
Oh my goodness, Gene. Number one, giving 150% of yourself.
Yeah.
From the very get-go, I think, like when we first got together, I even expressed that I want us to both, put in 150% of ourselves, because when you put in 100% of yourself, that you are putting your all in, and when you put in an extra 50%, that's where you two have you two have already met in the middle with your 100 each.
Right. So if you're both giving 100%, then technically that's the bare minimum that you can give in a relationship. There has to be you doing something out of the ordinary that that your spouse would like to do, or you stepping out of your comfort zone and doing something that you don't like doing, whatever it might be. I mean,
even like a simple text message sometimes, like there are some people rude anyway. So, no, like, even a simple text message sometimes, like, just, hey, love you, miss you, babe, that's it. And I do those. Shut up.
You do those, but you hate communicating through text messages.
I hate it. It is awful. It is the worst thing imaginable, and my family will tell you, my friends will tell you, my coworkers don't get a response. It's really bad. Anyway, moving on.
And number two would be communication.
Yes.
Making sure that you're communicating about everything. Sucks sometimes, especially if you're not really, if you're an emotional person and a logical person. It could be really hard to meet each other, and that goes back to being 150%, because you're now trying to meet each other where the other person is. And so I, as a logical person, have to reach Joshua as an emotional person, and he has to do the same, or it doesn't really work. I mean, the only way to communicate is to make sure that you're reaching each other where you are. One thing that we learned, you have to use I statements. making sure that you are, not trying to bring your partner down or gaslight them, which is an extreme don't that we'll talk about in a minute. Making sure that you're using I statements. I feel this way when you do that. I feel like shit when you say this. Those types of things. Whatever it is, I mean, you're expressing your feelings, and that person has to accept that. Because if you're using I statements, then your partner can't say, well, that's bullshit, because you're talking about how you feel.
Yeah, every individual has their own feelings and their own opinion on how they're seeing things, and they speak kind of like their own language. And when it comes to the two of us, I speak a very emotional language, but I have stretched myself to a point where I need to speak logically and emotionally for him to be able to understand my translation. That's kind of how we handle it when it comes down to handling life issues. And if when a logical person says something very cutthroat, they may not even realize that they did. It's just, to me, that really hurt, and that I'm feeling some type of way, and you just don't need to talk to me if you're not going to talk to me appropriately. And so that's how it works with us. You are learning your partner's language and how to translate your own, and how to teach your language to them. And that, I think, is a
love language is not just related to sexual things.
Or even lovey-dovey, gross, oh my god, baby, all the time. No, it's literally learning how to excel yourself within a relationship in every way, full circle, all the time. And that's just, that's a part of that's really one of the biggest parts of the journey, all the time together.
Yeah. So what's number 3?
Number 3 is be vulnerable. This is a very difficult one, especially, I feel, for the homosexual or anything other than the straight community. I mean, don't get me wrong, heterosexual individuals and couples have their own vulnerable issues as well. But I think that when it comes to an LGBTQIA plus relationship, there are a lot of different vulnerable steps that need to be taken individually and together, that a heterosexual couple or individual would not normally approach. They wouldn't normally have to deal with that. Things like always being shamed for who you are as an individual.
Our community, the wall has been built. There's a wall that's been built that it's hard for anyone to get in and break, no matter how close you are to that person. Whether it's because of fear, because you might find out something about yourself, or they might find out something that you don't want them to know, whatever it might be. But if you're in a relationship, then being vulnerable is something that's necessary to make sure that relationship is able to work.
Yes. And progress.
You can't really grow if you're not being vulnerable, because you're becoming stagnant and not really moving. And if you are growing, then you're not growing authentically.
Correct.
Because you're not being who you really are.
Every individual is different. Not everyone is going to be vulnerable. There will be two people, for example, in a relationship, and one may be extremely vulnerable right off the bat because they trust that person. But the opposite may not be so vulnerable because of past issues or past experiences, or just because they don't trust that easily. And yes, that's me. It's not a thing for me to trust super easily, and that's.
I trust initially with stipulations,
which is totally acceptable.
Right,
That's
and then
totally
you gradually work your way up to my full trust. But making one wrong move will set you all the way down.
Absolutely.
And in the words of Maya Angelou, when someone shows you who they are, believe them.
In the words of my grandfather, you fool me once, shame on you. You fool me twice, shame on me.
That's not your grandfather.
Well, he was the first one to teach me that, so
it's not your grandfather.
Whatever, I don't care. I give him credit for teaching me that, and I appreciate that. Anyway, he has a lot of fun little sayings like that.
The fourth and last do is be authentically you.
Oh, jeez, bae.
Authentically love your partner and yourself.
Yes.
You have to authentically love yourself before you can love anyone else. In the words of RuPaul, if you can't love yourself,
how in the hell you gonna love somebody
else?
I
get an amen up in here?
Amen!
Let the music play. Anyway. Too much Drag Race. You have to authentically love yourself before you're able to love anyone. I mean, if you're still dealing with finding out who you are, then that's fine, and you can still do that while you're in a relationship.
We are prime examples. We are in our early 20s. We know about still trying to find ourselves as an individual and yet still trying to be us.
It's okay to be in a relationship while you're finding out yourself, but you have to be willing to find out yourself while your partner also does that. And while you're finding out who you are as a couple as well.
I mean, that's why a lot of people say that young couples just won't work because of that right there. I mean, that knows no gender or it knows no color. Young couples do have that wall to break down of who am I as an individual. And then they finally find out, oh, well, I'm kind of feeling this kind of lifestyle. Let me mess around with this for a while the other one is like going a completely different way. You know, and that's very normal. I don't really like that word, but for
it's normal,
lack of a better term,
it's normal to not know fully what you want.
Yeah.
Because, and I hate saying it's because of your age, because I hate people like that.
It's because of maturity level that has not yet been gained.
Okay.
It's true. That's true. That is so true. It's because of a maturity level that has not yet been gained. And it's not necessarily your fault, but you just haven't had the time. And this is where it relates back to age. It's just because you haven't had the time to experience enough of life yet. And that's, again, totally okay. Even though it's super frustrating. And sometimes heart-wrenching even. Life. Sometimes she's a bitch. Meh.
When is she not a bitch?
Look.
There are good bitches. We decided that we would cut this video in two. So, make sure you tune in next week where we talk about the relationship don'ts.
Don't you do it, girl. Don't you do it.
Make sure in the meantime you follow us on Twitter and Instagram, WinstonGraySaga, and
like, comment, and subscribe.
That too, obviously.
And we'll see you next week.
One life.
One love.
Bye.